Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is It's Here to Stay, regardless of what others say. And I'm pretty much talking about the motb. I was sitting here going through some of my favorites, or some of the stuff I had, in my favorites, just to see if I could find some information to go into to do a lesson. And I ran across this site here that I have, Now the End Begins. And as I'm reading through it, I was listening to Elder Pastar's video also that he did, the latest one he did, which is about 20 minutes long. I was almost finished listening to it. Eventually you will be beheaded if you refuse the ... like in poetry. The motb, pretty much. And as I'm reading through this site here, which is a so-called Christian site, because, these Edomite Christians, and some of them are more than likely Jake, because Jake has that zeal for the Most High. They're pretty much ones that really study and go into stuff, into scriptures, to try to connect certain things, because Jake, for the most part, all they do is just sing, dance, and eat in church. But as I'm reading through some of these, there was one section here that's called the motb system, as you can see there. I'm just paraphrasing, and it gives you different articles concerning the motb. Then this one says here, release of the Apple Vision Pro users in dystopian world where humans and computers, and I believe it says are connected forever, something like that. Then here, this one says biometric facial comparison technology from the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol is quickly leading the way into the new world order. And that's pretty much what it is. The new world order pretty much goes into these devils wanting to track everything and everybody on the planet. Anyone that's a part of the grid, they want to track everybody. And it's funny because when they make these futuristic movies like Demolition Man and other movies, they always show you the world that is and the technology and how people live. And then they always show you the ones that are outside of the grid, usually are underground, poor, destitute, beat up, broken down, sick, And that's pretty much, what they want. They want a system to where those that comply and take this motb, which is a micro C-hip, will be able to get the benefits of, medicine or whatever the case may be, while those that are not on the grid, will be lacking. All right. This one here says, mark it down. Elon Musk proudly tweets on X that the first human has received his, brain implant pretty much. And from what I understand, somebody sent me an article yesterday that I'm not sure if it was that particular one, but it had to be that particular one failed, but they're on it. They're on it. Now, you could read through some of these. I want to get back down to the one that I had down here. Where is it? Right here. It says, man in England. This is 2 years ago, by the way. Some of these are, older, 10 months, 2 years. But, I've never heard of this one, even though I know that there's people out there that get, the micro C-hip to function for different things. But, hey, I didn't hear this one specifically. Man in England becomes first ever to have micro C-hip for his bank card implanted into the back of his right hand from biotech company Walletmore. So pretty much you could see the direction everything is going in. People are using these devices to open up doors to access their vehicles, to access, work, to be able to do banking, As Elder Pastor pointed out, and other brothers have done videos on it, is the palm print, the palm reader in these different Whole Foods and different other markets, because this is the wave of the future. This is where the direction that the world is going into. And this is going to be a worldwide thing. It's not going to be something that's just relegated to a country or a city or town or even a continent. It's going to be a worldwide thing. And it's going to be to the point where either you comply with it or you get cut out of the system. And the majority of people on the planet are not hip, so to speak, or are not spiritually sound in their mind to be able to resist or fight against this, because they don't know what's going on. And then you have false prophets on top of that telling them that it's not the motb, and they being sheep which are led astray, they're not going to comply. They're going to comply because their leaders are telling them that it's not the motb. Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. The hour of temptation, it has a lot of components to it. You have the hardships that are coming, the time of Jacob's trouble. You have martial law, these different detention centers, so on and so forth. But the ultimate of that is when they present people with that micro C-hip, which is the MOTB. You either accept it or you die. It's going to come to that point. First, as in everything, it's going to be, you're going to be able to choose to take it or not. But eventually it's going to come down to the wire where, they're like, look, you're going to either take this or we're going to do you some damage. Because these devils are going to move forward. Because if not, if it wasn't going to be made mandatory eventually, then why would anybody have to be beheaded or be put to death for not accepting it? Because eventually it's going to go from being something that you can choose to do to something that you have to do in order to survive in this future world that Esau is pushing. And Esau is pushing a world where he wants to be the Most High. He has a God complex, as they call it. And he wants to be like the Most High. That's why it says here in Isaiah 14:14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, which they have done that through their planes, helicopters, their satellites, which are out in orbit, which they use to track everything on the planet. And this whole system, they keep upgrading it. They keep, putting cameras everywhere. They went from, you being able to pay physically to a particular living person money, to cross from one state to another or from one county to another on the highway through those toll booths, to now having the easy pass, which they have no booths. All they have is just machines set up with surveillance on them, cameras on them, that when you pass through, it reads your license plate, and they mail you or send you a bill that you owe so and so and such for passing this particular toll. Because everything is going digital. Everything is going digital. Everything is going digital. Everything is going digital. It says, I will be like the Most High, because the Most High knows everybody on the planet, where they are, who they are, what their makeup is, what they eat, what they don't eat, what they do, what they don't do, what makes them tick. They know everything. And that's what these devils want. That's why when you watch the movie 1984, for those who have not watched that movie, you should watch it, because it shows you a dystopian view of the future, to where you're not going to be able to have an independent thought in your mind. And if you have an independent thought, you're going to be labeled a thought criminal. All right? You have movies like Elysium and others where books are banned, the Bible is banned, art is banned, music is banned. And anytime they find, like when you watch the movie Elysium, which Christian Bale was the main guy in there, when he would find these things, they would burn it and they would kill the person. They would bring the person up on charges and have them put to death for having these things. And people in the future had art, had different things, but they had to have it somewhere hidden, somewhere in a secret room somewhere. And his job was to go out and find it anywhere it was. And they would have to take this, these shots in the neck to pretty much suppress their feelings. You see? That's what all of this, med to the K to the shun is all about, that they're pushing out here. To pretty much numb people's feelings, dull their senses, because they want a nation of zombies. They don't want a nation of thinkers. Thinkers are dangerous to them, to the so-called New World Order. So he wants to be like the Most High. And he wants to watch over everything. He wants to be in control of everything. But it's not going to happen. Could. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice. You're only going to get so far in your New World Order. Let's go real quick to Job chapter 20. You're only going to go so far. Job chapter 20 and 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Right. When you're pretty much at the point, what you are pretty much there, just about at the point of establishing your New World Order, you're going to get it off the ground to a certain degree. But the thing about it is, once you do that, you're going to be in a position where that's going to be the last straw. And then the Lord is going to bring his judgment. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. That's dealing with all of these workers. Because what they're doing is slowly but surely, as they say, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. So the middle class, which were pretty much well-to-do, they were the middle level, so to speak, between the poor and the rich. They were doing pretty good. They were sustained. They didn't need the government. They pretty much were self-sufficient, independent. Now they've done what they've done is they've made shit so hard and devalued the dollar so much that people are losing their savings and they're losing that middle class status. So either you're gonna have the super rich or the super poor. They don't want anything else in between, because the super poor will depend on the government for everything, and that's what they bank on. Because when you depend on the government for everything, you have to follow the mandates that the government gives you, and that's the purpose of them, having these different programs that they have for the rich. I'm sorry, for the poor. Salakia, my brain is still not firing on 100%. So it says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon them. So the people that are being, this is not talking about an actual wicked person. When you look up the Hebrew word for this, it's talking about laborers. And people are getting sick and tired of the bullshit. And there's going to be, this is why you're going to have class wars, race wars. You're going to have these different protests and so on and so forth. But protests don't do shit. And the majority of protests that you see are funded by them. By them. The international bankers. You see this info coming out that George Soros is pretty much, I'm not sure if it's in here. I think it might be in another area. Yeah, we're dealing with a different subject. He's the one that they say is funding these different protests against the, against the small hats, in defense of the Palestinians. It says, this is another article, in order to better protect against C to the vid, Starbucks announces they will be going cashless from now on with contactless mobile app or QR codes for payment. See? So everything's going digital under that, this right here, the C to the vid monster, that's what they used, as a pretext for this new system that's coming in place. They did a lot with this back in 2020. It says, in stunning end times harbinger, Tesla owner Brandon Delally has car key micro C-hip implanted into the back of his right hand, just like Revelation 13. So you see these Edomite Christians, some of them are Jakes, they up on shit. And here it is, like the scriptures say, the children of this world are wiser than the children of light. And then you have Israelites that are supposed to know better, and they're oblivious to this, or they took the bag. And remember, the bag changes everything. I'm still waiting for that lesson. Somebody jump on it. The bag changes everything. Australia is the only democratic nation that tracks its citizens by their face print for C to the vid monster containment procedures, but that's about to change. MasterCard launches next step in evolution of biometric payments, now allowing you to use your face or fingerprints to buy and sell in the metaverse. The metaverse is the metapon. And this is why Elon Musk is pushing that whole, thing, because he's pushing the one in the forehead, while other companies are pushing the one in the hand or in other parts of the body. Brain-computer company Synchron surges past Neuralink to enter human trials with implantable device allowing hands-free mobile device operation. See? So everything is moving in this direction. And keep in mind, these articles are 2 years old, but they say a whole lot. So just imagine now how much more info is out. This is just days after Macron election victory. France announces creation of a digital identity app for citizens to access public and private services. So why do you think that these economists in the WEF, World Economic Forum, are all talking about the new system that they're putting in place through the so-called reset of everything going digital, everything going, surveillance going under the skin subdermally? Why do you think they're talking about that? Because that is the wave of the future. And if you can't see that, you either got paid off or you're just blind. You had back in the 90s, I believe it was, when Aaron Russo and Nick Rockefeller had that meeting, where Nick Rockefeller spilled the beans, to him and told him what the plans of the future are. He told him many different things that were going to happen, that did happen. And he told him that ultimately the ultimate goal is to have everybody micro C-hipped. You see? Why? Because when you have everybody micro C-hipped and everybody's operating on this digital system, the slightest, infraction that they do can get them cut out of the system or get them limited in the system. They're going to only do so much in the system until they fully comply, bow down, and then, then they can actually work in the system 100%. See? And it's going to be like the model of the world, China, their credit score system. Just like today, you could get a loan based off of your credit score. Well, in the future, that's how they plan on doing it. And all of these things that you see happening in the news and these different systems that they have online, these different nations, these are all trials. Having, in order for you to get into something, there's a gate and you have to scan something in it to get inside of the gate. All of this stuff is all set up. These are all trials that they're doing, So going back to Job 20 and 23, when he is about to fill his belly, meaning when he's about to sit down and eat, because he has his New World Order in place. Now he's about to sit down and enjoy the fruits of his demonic labor, right? The Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him. What is the fury of the Most High's wrath? The judgment that's coming. In America, it's going to be the form of the lake of fire, which is going to be created by the missiles and by the lasers from the chariots. It says, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So he's going to get to eat. He's going to get the New World Order off to a certain point. Then the Lord is going to bring him down. And it said it's going to rain it upon him. So Lord's will, we'll come back to this. We're going to show you what that rain is, Lord's will. So Revelation 12 and 12, therefore rejoice you heavens, which we're reading Revelation 3, which we're going to get back to, Lord's will. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. And you have men that have transitioned from earth back into the spirit world, that are in the spirit world right now waiting for the Lord to bring this devastation so that they can come back down to the earth and to be in the kingdom. That's why it says for them to rejoice, because they're safe up there. Let's see, the brother put social credit system is a national hold it now. Social credit system is a national credit rating and blacklist being developed by the government of China. See, the social credit initiative calls for the establishment of a record system so that businesses, individuals, and government institutions can be tracked and evaluated for trustworthiness. See, there are multiple forms of the social credit system being experimented with, while the national regulatory method is based on whitelisting, term red listing in China, and blacklisting. Right. So if you're on the white list, and they got that from the scriptures. You got the white list or the white pebble, which is free from guilt, and then you have the black pebble, or the blacklist, which means guilty. And the ones that are guilty of any infractions, they will not be able to operate on the system. And that's why it says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, the ones that are on the planet, alive on the planet, and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, meaning Esau has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So he's going to be, it says that they're going to be as madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Because the biggest threat to the New World Order are the Israelites, especially the ones that know that they're Israelites, and especially the ones like Great Millstone and affiliates that teach the same thing that we teach through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shai, exposing these devils and their demonic agenda. So going back to Isaiah, well, we already read that, Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. And all the world here means the whole entire planet. And that's why it's important when you see words in the English, you can't take them for face value, because there is a language that both in the Old Testament is the Hebrew and the New Testament is the Greek, that those words in the Greek, when they translated it into the English, there's a lot of different words that they translated the same in one language, which is English, but when you go back to the Greek or the Hebrew, it has a different meaning to it. So you can't just put a label of world on every Greek word, because there are 3 or 4 different Greek words for the word world. So, and they all mean something different. Like you have the word world in Matthew 24, which goes back to the Greek word eon, which means an uninterrupted rule or a time of rulership for a particular empire. Here in Revelation and other places, the word world goes back to the Greek word oikomene, which means a whole inhabited earth. So you have to know how to distinguish between the two. And for those newer members, the way you distinguish is by clicking the tools button, right? You're in the interlinear, which breaks down, different words in the English back to the Greek. And you would scroll down to the word world, and then this letter here, G3625, you click on that, and it gives you the Greek word that is in there that was translated world. It gives you the pronunciation here, which you could click this little speaker here, oikomene, right? And then when you come down here, it tells you what it comes from. Feminine participle present. This is the root word. It comes from oikio, which means to dwell, a dwelling, living, and then a noun of gay or gi, which means earth. All right? So you have dwelling, earth, or the earth dwellers. Oikomene. Now they'll give you like a bunch of different definitions, but some of these definitions are off, but the one that is on point is the inhabited earth. All right? The whole inhabited earth, the world. the inhabitants of the earth, men. So these are correct. All right? Those are correct. You have others that go into something different. It's not talking about that. So oikomene means the whole entire planet. And then this one here, this particular chapter here in verse, Revelation 3:10, has two different words in the Greek that mean the same thing. So it says, which shall come upon all the world, oikomene, the whole entire planet earth, to try them that dwell upon the earth. And the word earth there goes back to the word, the whole entire planet, which is a different word, which we just covered, gay or gi, where you get the word geo, right? And there's arable land, the ground, the earth as a standing place, the earth as a whole, okay? The inhabited earth, the abode of men and animals. So you get the idea. So this test that's coming is coming upon the whole entire planet. I'm going to read this again, and then we're going to get something that our Lord Yahushua said. My bad, I hit the wrong. I'm going to get something that our Lord Yahushua said, which is very important, because he covered a whole lot with this prayer that he taught the disciples. Revelation 3:10 again, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, because we have suffered for the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. I also, meaning Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. Because you're going to have people out there that's not going to be able to resist. You're going to have some that know that the microchip is the motb, and they're still going to take it because they're not going to have that ingredient in them to resist. You see? That's why it's important to be in the good graces of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to the best of our ability, so that when that time comes, we make the right decision. See? And it's going to be given to each man and woman at that particular day what to choose. It says, which shall come upon all the world, meaning the whole entire planet, to try them that dwell upon the earth, the whole entire planet. And that's where you have to go into the Greek or the Hebrew to find out what that is or means. Okay, so going to Matthew 6 and 9, because remember we read about the hour of temptation. Matthew chapter 6 verse 9, I'll start at 8. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things you have need of before you ask him. After this manner therefore pray, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, which goes back into the Hebrew prayer of our Father. Abana wa Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Hayashim Ka, so on and so forth. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Because the transition of righteousness in the perfect order in the heavens is going to come down upon the earth. This is why when the Lord gave Moses the law, statutes, and commandments to give to the nation of Israel, to our forefathers back then, he told them when he built the tabernacle, make sure you build the tabernacle according to how you saw it in the schematic. The Lord showed them how it was to be built. Why? Because when you go into the heavens was going to be translated on the earth eventually. So when he built these things, he had to build it the way the Lord showed him, because that was a way that we had to worship the Father. Because when you go and you check out the high holy days, one of the high holy days was the Day of Atonement. What was the Day of Atonement all about? The Day of Atonement was every year the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies, which was, inside of the tabernacle, right? You had the holy place where the priest would be, and then you would have a separate curtain that would separate the regular tabernacle part from the holiest of holy of all, and only the high priest would be able to go in there. And what was in there was the Ark of the Covenant, which had the two cherubims facing each other, and on top of that was the mercy seat. And the reason why it was called the mercy seat, because that's where the Lord Yahweh would appear. His presence would appear, to give mercy to the nation of Israel for that whole year. So what the high priest would do, Aaron and the rest of the high priests after him in that order, they would go in, they would consecrate themselves, clean themselves first, offer for themselves, and then once they were clean and sanctified, they will offer for the sin offering of the nation of Israel for that year. Okay? So that was to be done here on earth until Yahushua came on the scene. That's why we no longer have to sacrifice in that fashion, because Yahushua already covered that for us. All right? It says, give us this day our daily bread, right? Because we live day by day, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, meaning, those that commit iniquities against us or trespasses against us, we forgive them so that we be forgiven. And lead us not into temptation. See, this is the main point right here. This is a very poignant prayer, But here it says, and lead us not into temptation. Why? Because the hour of temptation is coming. Yahushua had his moment in his hour of temptation, which was in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he was, betrayed by Judas Iscariot. And at that point, they grabbed him up and brought him before the Sanhedrin, which was the council of Israel back then. They brought him to Pontius Pilate, and then he brought him to Herod, and back and forth. So he was, being put on trial, for his life pretty much. So that was his hour of temptation. And prior to them grabbing him up, he was praying to the Lord if there could be another way, because of the flesh. The flesh, remember, he told the disciples, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So he prayed to the Lord if it was another way he could do it, because he knew the excruciating pain that he had to go through in order to get through that ordeal. So that was the hour of his temptation. And when he heard no response after 3 times of praying, he said, well, this is what I got to do. And he went and did it. All right. So that's why it says, pray and lead us down into temptation, because everybody's going to have that moment of temptation. When, you're either going to comply or you're going to die or suffer whatever fate you have to suffer, and you're going to have those that just to save their skanky ass hide, they're going to go for it. And then you're going to have those that no matter what they do to them, which are the elect, they're going to resist. They're not going to go for it. It says, and lead us down into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Because if you take that motb, which is the micro C-hip, you will die in this destruction that's coming. The destruction that's coming is going to be by way of thermonuclear destructions, totally annihilating America and the land of Israel, and the lasers from the chariots. Now, there may be other parts of the earth that get hit by some of those missiles. We don't know. The scriptures they're not specific on it, but we know that the whole of America and the whole of the land of Israel will be destroyed. The only difference is that America will never be inhabited again by humans, only by desert creatures and unclean animals and birds. And the land of Israel will be rebuilt again, because that is the home base, so to speak. All right. And lead us down into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. So be true. All right. So let's see what else we could find here. Italy becomes latest nation to experiment with the social credit system from communist China to force behavior modification on its citizens. Right. It's all about control. Matter of fact, the elder Apostle Gabar just did a video. I think just this morning he did a video, and in the video he was highlighting, the video by G. Edward Griffin, where G. Edward Griffin was saying that what is left to excite someone when they have all of the money in the world? And what's left to excite them is raw power. Raw power. Raw control over everybody. Let me see if I can find the video. And it's a damn good watch. It's a documentary that was put up years ago. It's called, I believe it's called The Capitalist Conspiracy. And the capitalist conspiracy, he lays out, the plans of the Illuminated one. Right, here we go. This is it. And I didn't get a chance to watch this yet, but this is it. After a man has more money for pleasures, what is left to excite him? And it's pretty much, it's that raw control, raw power over the people, you know. And Lord's will, I check this out after I end this lesson. All right, so here we go. It's about modifying the behavior of people, having them comply to you. A man in the Netherlands is right now using a micro C-hip from biotech firm Walletmore implanted in the back of his hand to buy and sell. You know, and then what's heavy is that this smacks Bishop Nathaniel right across the face, because he years ago he said, a sister told me that my dog has a micro C-hip. So I said, well, sister, maybe your dog can buy you some land. He said, can somebody tell me what the RFID has to do with buying or selling? And boom, here it is. And that's why years later he had to retract his statements. He had to say, well, they're putting in this digital system, because that dude is slick. That's why I call him Oil Can Harry. He's slick as hell. So he's trying to cover his tracks. And then in that same one, with the digital system one, he said they might throw a micro C-hip in there, but it's not the motb. Trying to cover his ass, because he's the type of individual that will never admit being wrong, but then he'll somehow slide it in there that he's been teaching it the whole time. Just like he told that one individual, that older gentleman from Jamaica, that was asking him, is there going to be a hardship, a hard time, something like slavery for Jake, prior to the end? And he said no. He said straight up no. But then later on he said, no, if you listen to what I said, moron, I didn't say that there wasn't going to be no time of Jacob's trouble. I said there was just nothing happening at the time. Bunch of hypocrites, man. Dallas Love Field Airport in Texas is now testing giant 7-foot-tall Scott robots to monitor the and track passengers using facial recognition. Citibank says by 2030, which we're 2024, the metaverse will be an $8 trillion business with over 5 billion users logging in on a daily basis. See, because the scriptures say in their right hand or in their forehead. All right, let's see what this says. Recent events in Russia and Ukraine now have some Christians asking, could Vladimir Alexandrovich Zelensky be the anti-Messiah? There's many anti-Messiahs, many antichrists. It's not just one. See, they're making it seem like the antichrist is just one antichrist. They're just waiting for one antichrist, the leader of the new world order, of the evil, wicked, order. There's one guy that everybody's waiting for that has 3 names, and all 3 of those names have 6. They're all 6, comprised of 6 letters. 666. That's the man. That's the number. No. There are many antichrists, many anti-messiahs. Anti-messiah is anyone who is against the plans of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. You have Israelites that are anti-messiah, that are teaching against the doctrine, the true doctrine of Yahushua. 1 John 2:18, little children, it is the last time. And as you have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many, many, many antichrists with an S, whereby we know that it is the last time. So now this was 2,000 years ago. So how much more now in these times that we're at the very end? Because remember, the last days started back 2,000 years ago. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 9. And, you can calculate all the way back to when Jacob and Esau were born. That was the end of the world. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. But 2,000 years ago, Yahushua, when he came on the scene, that's when the end of the world started. Hebrews 9:26. For then, let me start at 25. Nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest entereth into the holy place every year with the blood of others, right? Because Yahushua he only did that sacrifice once, and that's it. He ain't going to keep coming back down here every year and do that. Shit. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once in the what? In the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. So back then, when Yahushua was on the scene, that was the beginning of the end of the world, the end of the age. And that's why the disciples asked him that question, which, Lord, is what we're going to get. Let's see. This world here is cosmos. Now, cosmos is an organization. All right? End of the world. See, end of the age, eon. See how there's two different words for the word world? When you see the word world, cosmos, it's mostly dealing with the nation of Israel. All right? It's a different word for the Greek word eon. But notice how they just put the English word for world. That's why you have to know how to distinguish. And eon is an uninterrupted rule. A certain portion of time. And the disciples asked Yahushua when he was going to return, what were the signs of his coming? Matthew 24:3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? Meaning the end of the world. And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? The end of the world there, the word world there, goes back to the Greek word eon. All right? And the Greek word eon means forever, an unbroken age, perpetuity of time, eternity, which, you could have a never-ending world as the kingdom of Yahushua, the world of Israel will be never-ending, but you can also have period of time, see, or uninterrupted rule, or a particular time. Let's say the Lord gave the Greeks, he gave the Greeks 300 years to rule. So those 300 years was the age of the Greeks. Then you had the age of the Romans. Then you had the age of the Babylonians. You had the age of the Assyrians. You had the age of the Persians. You had the age of the Medes. Today, the age of the second half of the Roman Empire is in the works right now, because America and the European nations that make up today's empire is nothing more than an extension of the ancient Roman Empire. So their age or their rule was interrupted for 1,000-year period, and they came back into power during the time of the Renaissance period. So now we're at the very end of the age of Esau. That's that period of time. So the disciples was asking the Lord, when is pretty much the Roman world going to end so that they can be set up into power? But Yahushua told him, it is not for you to, he told him what to look for, but he said it's not for you to know the time or the season. When we go to Acts chapter 1 and verse 6, when they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Because he suffered, he was crucified, he was put to death for the nation of Israel, then he came back to life. He was resurrected by the Heavenly Father Yahweh. So they thought that at that time the Lord was going to establish a kingdom, because they figured that the Roman Empire was the end of the world. But what they didn't understand was that there was still a second part to that to come in the future. That's why Yahushua said, and he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power, because Yahushua himself did not know when the destruction was going to come. Even now, sitting at the right hand of the Most High, he still doesn't know, which proves that there are two separate entities that agree in one. That's what it means when Yahushua said that me and my Father are one, which these wacky-tacky Christians try to say that means that they're the same spirit. No, because you have something called homoousian. Homoousian means the same substance. That's what they try to say that the Trinity is. It's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, that they're all one entity that have three separate, identities. No, there are three separate entities that agree in one. All right, but that's a whole nother lesson. And then, he says, but you shall receive power after that the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem, which they did, and in all Judea, which they did, and in Samaria, which they did, and unto the uttermost part of the earth, which they're doing now. The uttermost part of the earth is over here on the other side of the world, which is the so-called Western world. And you see mainly here in America, so North America, that you have the teaching of the Hebrew Israelites that had spread worldwide from here, from this point, specifically from Harlem, New York, specifically from a man named Elder Abba Bivens, which we call Elder Abba Bivens. He had a title of rabbi, but we don't like using that title, rabbi. Yeah, I wish I said call no man rabbi or master. He was he was an elder, a great man, and he's in the heavens right now waiting. Now, when you look up the word uttermost, it goes into the word eschatos, which means the end. So eschatos could be the study of the end times, or it could also be the furthest region out, land-wise. All right, you have extreme, last in time or in place. See, so you have time, and then you have place. Last in a series of places. America is the last in a series of places. Last in a temporal succession, meaning time. So it depends on the context of the word that you're using this for. It could either be talking about end times, or it could be talking about the end of a particular land. America is the furthest land. The Western Hemisphere is the furthest land from the East. You can't go any further. If you keep going due west, you're going to end up back in the Middle East, back in Japan, China, so on and so forth. Because how does that term go? Contrary to popular belief, the earth is round and not flat. The last referring to time. See, in this case, it's time, but then what we're reading right now, the uttermost part of the earth is talking about here on the other side of the world. Of space, the uttermost part, the end of the earth. See, the end of the earth. And when you look at a map, America or the Western Hemisphere is the furthest to the west. You can't go any further. When you keep going further, guess what? You're going to go right back into the east. All right, so that's how we know we're at the end. So this didn't happen back then. They weren't preaching to the uttermost part of the earth. And the Apostle John, it was told that he was going to prophesy again before many kings and nations and peoples. That didn't happen back then. That happened in these times. So, you just was reading some of these articles here. Going into cashless, digital payments. And this, like I said, these articles here are 2 years old. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg rolls out plans to cover America with red light surveillance cameras connected to the metaverse. Samsung unveils the world's first fingerprint security, blah, 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 micro CHIP to speed up biometric buying and selling payment collection. Everything is headed in that direction, but you still have the naysayers like the IUIC and other groups that say that the motb is not the micro CHIP. Amazon is opening a 30,000 square foot retail clothing store in Los Angeles that will feature paying by palm scan and QR codes in dystopian Harbinger. And it gives you on and on and on different, articles. Look at that. This was 3 years ago. Yes, Bill Gates is working around the clock to bring a global identification system based on the C to the vid immunity passport to every nation on Earth. Because really what it is they want to put the micro CHIP in everybody. But they have to play it, in this fashion, or, the CBDCs and, the cryptocurrencies and this and that, the other, and the world and identification, the iris, and then, fingerprints. But they want everybody micro CHIP. That's what Nick Rockefeller told Aaron Russo. Let me see. NTEB Radio Bible Study. What you need to know about the coming MOTB 666 electricity and some key Bible words that end in X. So it goes on and on and on with different articles, and you could hit more posts and more stuff will come up. And keep in mind, some of these are 3 years old, 2 years old, and I'm sure there's even some that go even further back. We started off with those that were, let me see, these are more recent. This was 3 months ago. Biometric facial comparison technology from the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol is quickly leading the way into the New World Order. These here are 4 months ago, 7 months ago, 9 months, 9 months, 9 months, 10 months, So some of these are more recent, some of them are older, but they all are receipts for the motb being the micro C-hip in the book of Revelation chapter 13. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.